You know, the American Hockey League has had some great franchises through the years, but today we're going to be talking about the ultimate one, the Hershey Bears. Now, this podcast will not cover the whole history of the squad. We're going to look at its origins and also talk about successes into the early 1980s. Because the modern Hershey Bears have been successful, but the feeling of the AHL vintage fan goes back when the Hershey Bears were pretty well the team to beat every season because of the quality of players that they had. Now, the current version of the Bears has played the AHL since 1939 and is the longest continuously operating member club in the league, still playing in its original city. Now, the Bears organization is now an affiliate of the Washington Capitals, and its squad is near the Hershey Park Arena, where the club played its original games from 1938 to 2002. Now, chocolate manufacturer Milton S. Hershey first established the Hershey Hockey Club in 1932 to manage professional hockey teams based in Hershey. Now in its ninth decade, it has operated 4 teams in 3 pro leagues, including AHL Bears. Now called the Hershey Bears Hockey Club, it is a subsidiary of the Hershey Entertainment Resorts Company, originally called the Hershey Estates, and later Herco, the entertainment and hospitality division of Hershey Trust Company. Gordie Howe, who was selected in the Hockey Hall of Fame in '72 and was known as Mr. Hockey, once remarked, "Everybody who is anybody in hockey has played in Hershey." Although he himself did not play there, but he played against enough players to know that Hershey was Hockey Town for a lot of people. Now, the history of the Hershey hockey goes back to a series of amateur games between college teams in the early 1931. The first such formal hockey game ever played in Hershey took place on February 18, 31, when Penn AC and Villanova faced off in the 1900-seat Hershey Ice Palace. 9 months after that successful contest, Swarthmore Athletic Club moved into the Ice Palace, where they played their first game in November 1931 against Crescent AC of New York City. In the lineup that night for Crescent was a 23-year-old center named Lloyd S. Blinko, a native of Grand-Mère, Quebec, who came to Hershey next season and would continuously be associated with the Hershey hockey for half a century as a player, coach, and manager. Now, the popularity of these amateur hockey matches prompted chocolate maker and amusement park operator Milton Hershey and his amusements chief, John B. Sollenberger, to bring pro hockey to Hershey by sponsoring a permanent team. To that end, Mr. Hershey established the Hershey Hockey Club in 1932. Now, again, it's one of the longest operating clubs in the original city, comparable to the original 6 clubs in Montreal, Toronto, Boston, New York, Chicago, and Detroit. Now, which were all established in or before 1926. The first hockey team the organization ice was the Hershey Bars in a newly formed Tri-State Hockey League, which included 3 other teams from Baltimore, Philadelphia, and Atlantic City. After a single campaign in 33, that circuit reformed itself in a larger 7-club Eastern Amateur Hockey League in which Hershey played as the Chocolate Bars, 33-34, then again as the Bars, and finally from 36 to 38 as the Hershey Bears, a name adopted in response to criticism levied by New York sports writers in the league that Bars moniker was too commercial. These writers had already informally dubbed the club as the Bears from Penn's Woods when they visited Madison Square Garden to play the New York Rovers. Now, in December 1936, the newly renamed EAHL Bears also moved from the confines of the Ice Palace, where they only played on a 60 by 170 rink, into the newly constructed 7,300-seat Hershey Park, then known as the Hershey Sports Arena, built immediately adjacent to the older venue. Over the next 66 seasons, Bears teams played a total of 2,280 EAHL and AHL regular season and playoff games at the arena, which served as the home to hockey in Hershey from 36 to 2002. Now, since 2002, the Bears have used Hershey Park as their practice arena. Now, since 36, the Canadian American Hockey League and the International Hockey League had formed an 8-team circuit of mutual convenience, playing an interlocking schedule as the International American Hockey League. On June 28, 38, the Can-Am and IHL formally merged into a single league under the IAHL name. One of the first acts of the newly merged league, which became the American Hockey League in 1940, was a grant an expansion franchise to the Hershey Bears, which at the time still owned and operated the EAHL Hershey Bears, the then 3-time regular season champions of that league. The new Bears took the Bison's place in the IHL's West Division, allowing the IHL to play a balanced schedule for the first time in 2 years. While the new Bears began playing the IAHL in 1938, the hockey club also continued to operate an EAHL team, the Hershey Cubs, for one more season before leaving that league altogether. Now in 1977, Hershey became their only original AHL hockey club to have continuously iced a team in the same city since the league's inaugural season as a fully merged league when the Rhode Island Reds franchise was sold and moved to New York State as the Binghamton Dusters after the 1977 campaign. Now, defenseman Henry J Hanklerzol, an original EHL Bar, became the first player to sign with the new Bears. The former EHL's club's coach, Herb Mitchell, guided the IHL Bears for the first 3 seasons. The Bears made a very good account of themselves in their first IHL campaign, winning the West with a 31-18-5 record. However, defeated in the first round of the Calder Cup playoffs by the Philadelphia Ramblers, the Rangers' top farm team, 3-2. Now, former Boston Bruins coach and Hockey Hall of Fame member Ralph Cooley Whelan guiding Hershey throughout the war years, winning regular season titles in 43 and 44. The Bears' 13 losses in 43 are still the fewest by the club in a single season, while Wally Kilrea's 99 points that season gave Hershey its first of 10 AHL scoring champions. Hershey won their first Calder Cup title in 47, the first of 11, under second-year coach Don Penniston, while also winning their 4th division title in just 9 seasons. Now, that year was great for them. They had a record of 35-16-2 by an all-star goalie Harvey Bennett Sr. in the playoffs. Then Hershey defeated the Western Division champion Cleveland in a 4-game first-round sweep, outscoring them 24-3. Before winning the Calder Cup in 7 games over the Pittsburgh Hornets. Now in 48, 21-year-old Winnipeg-born center Arnie Kuhlman joined the Bears, and except for 13 games with the Bruins in 50, he played his entire 12-year career in Hershey. When Kuhlman retired in 1960, he had 629 points on 253 goals and 376 assists in a Hershey uniform, a total which will only be eclipsed by Tim Tooky, with whom he shared number 9 that he was eventually retired in honor of both players, and Mike Nicoluk. Kuhlman's 753 games as a Bear is also second to Nicoluk's 972. Now, by the 1950s, from 50 to 56, they were coached by a pair of former Boston Bruins defensemen, Johnny Crawford and Murray Henderson, who was a player-coach for a few seasons. In 1954, center George Sullivan became the second Bear to win a scoring title, and Red was also named the league's MVP as he had 119 points in 69 games to set an AHL regular season scoring record, which stood for almost 30 years. His 89 assists are also an AHL record 6 decades later. Although never an all-star, another player to play briefly in Hershey during the era was Don Cherry, who was a coach at Rochester, Boston, Colorado, and later a broadcaster, became and still remains one of the game's most visible and controversial figures. As a 20-year-old defenseman, Cherry made his pro debut with the Bears during the 55 season and also played for the club in 57. As a TV personality and longtime commentator on Hockey Night in Canada since fired, this former Bear is one of the best-known figures in Canada in any field. But again, these controversial comments have gotten him in persona non grata across Canada. Now, with the demise of the Pittsburgh Hornets in 56, Sullenberger and Blinko were able to acquire the services of 7 of the recent Calder Cup champion Hornets' best players, including 4-time All-Star goalie Gil Mayer and the AHL's eventual all-time scoring leader Willie Marshall. The most important, of course, was the defenseman Frank S. Mathers, who remained active with the Bears for an unprecedented 35 seasons and an all-star defenseman, player, coach, GM, and club president. Under Mathers' leadership, Hershey won over 1,500 games and 6 Calder Cup titles, while Mathers himself was honored with the Lester B. Patrick Award in 87 for contributions to hockey in the States, and in 92 became the second individual to be elected to the Hockey Hall of Fame based solely on a career in the AHL. While the Mathers era in Hershey started slowly with a fourth-place finish in 56-57, he led the Bears back-to-back Calder Cup titles in his second and third seasons as a player-coach. With Bobby Perot and the Mayor in goal, the league's top two scorers in Marshall and Doug Fisher, and Mathers himself earning All-Star honors on defense for the sixth time in 7 years, the Bears won both the regular season and playoff championships in 1958. Although Hershey finished the 59 season with just a 500 record, they defeated Cleveland, the Buffalo Bisons to win their third Calder Cup. In 58, the Bears also acquired the services of Mike Nicoluk, who split the previous two seasons between Toronto and Rochester. When Nicoluk retired 14 years later in 72, he was the AHL's fourth all-time leader in points with 881 on 195 goals and 686 assists. And his 972 games as a Bear are still the record in a Hershey uniform. In 72, his number was retired, the number 8, and the first ever to retire by the Bears. Although it was more than a decade before the Calder Cup returned to Hershey, during the first half of the 60s, 5 key players joined the club who would each stay from anywhere from 7 to 9 seasons, including the great Barry Ashby, Ralph Keller, Roger DeJordy, Michel Harvey, and Gilles Gilbert. Now, not the goalie Gilles Gilbert. Together, they would eventually count for 2,654 games played, 710 goals, and 1,961 points as Bears. While these 5 and league MVP Nicoluk all helped the Bears win their division's regular season title in 67, for the first time since 58, on a 38-24-10 record behind the goaltending of first-team All-Star Andre Gill and league leading 52 goals by Jordy, it will be another 2 years before the Calder Cup returned to Hershey. In 69, he defeated the Quebec Aces in 5 games. Gilbert led the league in scoring that year with 100 points, while Harvey was close behind at 93. The Bears also won their third consecutive Eastern Division title. That season also saw Mathers add the duties of GM to his portfolio with the retirement of Blinko from that post. Now, by the 1970s, success continued. Now, with the close of the 73 season, Mathers ended his unbroken 17-year run as coach to devote his efforts full-time to his duties as GM, including a brief return to the bench in 85. Mathers compiled a personal coaching record of 610, 53, 513, 134 for a career winning percentage of .539. His successor was former Bears winger Chuck Hamilton, who served from 73 to 79 and also played 7 seasons in Hershey from 63 to 70. In his first year as the Bears coach, Hamilton led a relatively inexperienced squad, including 9 rookies, to a 5th Calder Cup title, losing only 2 games in the playoffs, 3 rounds in which they knocked off the Swords of Cincinnati, the Baltimore Clippers, and the Providence Reds, with a championship game played in the arena before a then record crowd of 8,703. Now, Hershey won a 6th Calder Cup in 79-80 under player coach Doug Gibson, who replaced first-year coach Gary Green when he was unexpectedly promoted to the Bears' NFL affiliate, the Washington Capitals, early in the season. Gibson also led the Bears in playoff scoring with 12 goals and 7 assists in 16 Calder Cup games, while goaltending was shared by former NHLer Gary Innes, who himself would later coach the team, and Dave Parrot. Although Hershey had finished 4 games below 500 during the regular season, the Bears defeated Syracuse in the opening round before upsetting the New Haven Nighthawks, and then the Northern Division winning the Brunswick Hawks in the finals, with 2 of their 4 wins in the championship series in double overtime. Now, although the Bears did not repeat as Calder Cup champions in 81, under new coach Brian Murray, the club had its best regular season at that point, with a 47-24-9 record, and has still established a still-standing record for goals with 357. Now, right wing Mark Lofthouse became the 5th Bear to win the scoring title with 103 points, and on the night of February 7, 81, he also set a team single-game 8-point record as the Bears defeated the Rochester Americans at the Hershey Park Arena 11-2, while the team also tied the AHL's then record for goals in the period with 9. Now, again, among the Bears' rookies that year was a 20-year-old center, Tim Tooky, who over 3 separate stints with the Bears, 80-82, 85-87, and 85-94, in 14 campaigns, collected 693 points in 529 regular season games, second only to the Nicolux 808. Now, as years went on, we're not going to go much into the second half of the 80s, but all I can say, you see the established dedication of the players who would come back as coach and management. It was a very much a family operation, the hockey family that run it, the hockey family that played it, and Hershey, from again that those early years all the way in the 80s, was a team to beat in the AHL. Because when the New Brunswick Hawks lost in the final, there wasn't much negativity about it, because when you lose to the best, you show the best. But the biggest thing I can say about Hershey, no matter what they were involved with, it was what do you call an exciting time for the fans, for the community, for the businesses that were involved and part of it. But like I said, like Gordie Howe said, if you almost everybody that was note of a good hockey player over all those years played with Hershey. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's our kind of half look at the Hershey Bears up until the mid-1980s. If you like what they're doing here with our AHL podcast, let us know with a like, comment, or subscribe. And if you're a Hershey fan, you're not alone. Any fan of the AHL is a fan of the Hershey Bears. Thanks for listening. Bye.